So today I decided to sit back and listen more than I talked, and it actually helped me a little bit because I got to learn more about the decisions that people were going to make. I also got to see how they rationalize things. I got to also understand like how like what was important to them and what I thought was going to be important were not the same thing. So it kind of helped me frame how I was going to not solve the issue, but provide like my recommendations, and it it gave me a different glimpse of how we're going to build this profession and how we're going to build out our offering and our services because you learn way more from shutting up and listening. And in this profession, the more you listen, the better that you can serve them. Because although you're wild, you're like wide ranged. You have, um, intellect and deep detail and knowledge in the athletic space. Everybody's situation is different. Every athlete is different. Every negotiation is different. And I was able to see that sitting in that meeting, I got to understand that they were operating from a different stance, and it just it made me more confident. It made me believe that what we're doing is valuable, but it also showed that we don't have to come in with a ready-made solution because everybody's situation is going to be different. You know, sometimes like the best investigations, I always like to make like voice notes to myself because it also helps me build out my frameworks and stuff like that. But some of my best investigations, some of my best work has always come from me just listening, just just sitting there watching. And if anybody has ever like seen me over the years, I'm always sitting around. I'm just looking. I'm just staring at people, or I'm listening. Or I'm asking questions that probably at the time didn't make sense, but when something happened, we would have a solution. We'll have an answer. I'll come back and I'll say, this is what we should be doing. Because remember when we said this, or remember when y'all had this meeting back then, and it was just kind of cool to see what we as a company, as a brand, as a service can provide to the market because everybody's situation is different. It's so many layers. Like in this situation in particular, it was a discussion simply about should we bring this athlete from the South to the Northeast. When I'm sitting there, I'm just like, man, you don't have no Southern athletes in the Northeast. Having one athlete on your team from the South in the Northeast, you have an advantage. But then they started saying things like, well, he's he's a he's the what he said. Well, what did he say? He was the second youngest of seven, but he was the only boy. And it was like, if he came, then he would take all his sisters and his mom, and they wanted to come up there, and they all wanted to move in, and they started asking things like, should we like sign this kid because this is what comes with it. And I'm sitting there, I'm listening, and I'm like, I mean, shoot, he a 4-star athlete. We got the budget. It makes sense athletically, but it didn't make sense economically, and it didn't make sense for things that's happening off the field. So when I'm watching, I'm listening, I was going to ask them the question anyway. You know, what's his home life like? Where's he coming from? Who's coming with him? What happens if he signs? And I was going to ask that anyway. But me just sitting back and listening to them talk, they all started giving out these reasonings behind why they should sign an athlete, because it was a split room. It was like we should sign him because we want to help him, good heart, and someone was like, man, we shouldn't sign him because he comes with too much baggage. And it was like, man, like I wanted to jump in so bad and say it's not baggage. We just have to have a program that understands how to support them here, support them there. What is it? What does it mean to come from the South to come to the Northeast? We have to prep the athlete on that transition. And the athlete then has to know, if I make this decision to come to the Northeast, here are the things that I have to do. And had I just jumped in there prematurely, I probably would have been talking in from their lens, from a theoretical standpoint. Now I can sit down and go back and make my notes, create a report, go back to them and say, hey, based on what y'all talked about, here are the things that we can actually do and solve. And every time I sit in a meeting, whether it's with this program or this business or it was with this family, there's always a different scenario that allows us to say, shut up, listen, and don't give no suggestion until you understand the full scope of things. And my question to them, I mean, even to you too, was what truth have you missed because you just jumped in to give a suggestion? Because you heard one line and your first thought was like, oh, I remember this. Let me give you an answer. But you ain't got the full scope of what's actually happening.